here to tell you.
So
From the ripped ass. Just a piece of
no
shit.
good can come from it.
No one likes us.
So we are back with the one and only Cody Mack for round 3, which I'm super excited about. This makes you, you're like Tom Hanks on Saturday Night Live. You're the most.
Yes, I'm down with Tom Hanks.
You do seem like a Tom Hanks guy.
I do. I love the Tom Hanks. Don't like his son Chet Hayes, but I do like the Tom Hanks and the Colin Hanks. But his other son can take a hike.
I'm not hip. I know Colin. I don't know Chet. What does he do?
There was a time where he was trying to be a rapper, and it was really bad. And if you did a deep dive, you'll see it. It's bad. Like it's really like. And I hate using that term like cringeworthy, but like legit, you're like, oh, come on, dude. Like, and he had like a little beef going with one of my good friends through Twitter. And then through that, he ended up blocking me. It was like a whole deal.
That's silly. And that sounds like he's probably just doing it to gain notoriety. It seems like half the Twitter beef that's out there or more is just to get people to pay attention anyway.
Right.
It's all for nothing.
Exactly.
So you actually hit me up as per usual right after we got off the phone last time and said, I've got more stories.
Yeah. First, I just want to say, I have to say that, like, and I know you feel the same way, but like, I just got to give a huge shout out to like Vin, OG, and Pablo, because their podcast has brought like this whole crew together of this gimmick gang. Cause it's like, I've legitimately Vin's been my brother, everyone knows, like even way before the podcast. And, through that, I've, got really close with OG and really close with Pablo. But like, even through that, like you, Carl, Powers, Correct, Chad, even like all these dudes that are like they like, to me, like they're fam now. Like it's such a cool thing that those 3 dudes have done kind of for all of us to have another group of people to be like, oh, there's more of us.
Yeah, man. I mean, everyone has their core group of people, and even across the country, if you move around or travel a bit. And, I was aware of you a bit, but we got to know each other via this thing for sure. And
right.
Now I was just texting with Carl right before this. I text with Gavin from time to time, and some of the best people I've ever spoken to, for real. I mean, I'm grateful to know all of you. I think that's I'm glad you brought that up. Big ups to all of BSB. I'm excited about Vin's new podcast. Like, I'm gonna have to dive in on that Patreon just to hear the boxing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, did you have anything before? I got some questions from a couple of the gimmick gangers later, but did you have a specific story you were thinking of last time?
I did, and it was funny because we like in my life on these podcasts, we've been talking about like Shamrock, and then we talked about the time, the outsider stuff with Danny Boy, and my time with like them and touring and all that. But like my Warner Brothers thing, like I was on the lot for like 11 years, and we talked a little bit about like when Fleetwood Mac came on. But the one story, like one of my buddies had texted me right after I got off. He goes, "Oh, how's the podcast?" I was like, "Good." He goes, "Did you talk about Space Jam?" And I was like, "Fuck no." So I was working on the lot, working in the mailroom, and my office was right across from this parking lot. Like legitimately can walk there in 3 minutes. Well, when Michael Jordan signed on to do Space Jam, his rule was he wanted a full-blown basketball, and we had a basketball court on the lot, but it wasn't like a full-blown. He wanted an NBA regulation, the whole 9 basketball court built. So what they did, they tented up this whole parking lot. It was like this big, huge tent. And inside the tent was, and this was like everyone had cable, but no one had satellite TV. Only like, I don't know if you like kind of dwell off and we can get back to it, but my uncle by marriage is Gallagher, the comedian that smashes watermelons.
We talked about that on one of the other times you were on.
Right. So he was the only one that I knew back in those days that like had satellite TV, like it bugged me, and I was a TV mark. So I was like, what's this? And So in this this bubble, it was a full blown basketball court. There was a full blown kitchen because the chef was there. A little workout thing, a little golf putting thing, TV with satellite, so any channel you can imagine. And how they worked it out was, I don't know about on the weekends, but on the weekdays there was two. They hired basically two security guards. One was the day shift, and one was the fucking evening shift. And when you were there the day, you got there like fucking, or there might have been 3 per day. But a kid who I grew up with I got him his job on the lot. He happened to be the daytime security guard. So Monday through Friday, fucking 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., he was in there. But because he was my boy, I was able to spend all my lunch breaks in there. So every lunch break, I would go in there. Sometimes it would just be me, him, and like the chef, and he'd cook us, lunch. A lot of times it would be Michael, but like, I'll be honest with you, like I'm a Mike Mark now, but growing up, I hated the Bulls. Didn't want nothing to do with them. So when I would
is that from being a Lakers fan or
no? I was just it's a lot of people know, like, if everyone likes something, sometimes I tend to be like, oh, fuck that. You know what I mean? And
sure.
And I liked, at that moment in my life, I was like a Tim Hardaway fan. I liked the Lakers, but like, I was like, there was other teams and players I wanted to see. Like, I really wanted the Knicks to win back in the 90s,
some underdog shit. I got you.
Yeah. And so when I would go in there, I wouldn't acknowledge it. Like, I wouldn't even say what's up to dude. Like, and he would always kind of look over at me, but I wouldn't acknowledge him, which I think made him like me because I never asked for nothing. And that's Michael Jordan. Like, everyone else walking in there is crazy. So he had told Steve, he goes, "Joe, your dude that you bring in, that little white boy, he could come. Like, he could chill. Like, he doesn't bother nobody. Like, he's cool." So I would like go there every lunch break, and my boss knew, so my boss would give me an extra like half hour. So I was chilling. And then, we got to be like, I mean, friendly as you can be, but like at night, they would do summer league there. Like, so all the NBA players would go there. So I'd go there at 7:00 at night, right before my boy would get off, and he would let me in. And, like Cedric Ceballos and Nick Van Exel and fucking Muggsy Bogues and Charles Barkley, everyone was there. So it was like watching like summer camp. It was great. But wow. I was there one day for lunch, and it was Jordan, Larry Johnson, Sean Bradley, basically all the guys that were in the movie, like Muggsy Bogues, Cedric Ceballos, but Patrick Ewing was there. So there was 8 NBA players, and they were running 4s-on-4s. And someone goes, like, "Dude, let's run 5-on-5." And I guess Jordan had seen Stevie play, and he goes, "Yo, you two want to play?" So each team got one of us. So like on my team, it was like me, Jordan, I think Larry Johnson, and Muggsy Bogues. I don't remember exactly.
Oh, wow.
So we're playing, and it's like a full-blown game. But, like, I'm not great with it. But, like, back in those days, I had a decent outside shot. So, like, I hit a couple threes, and they started calling me White Shadow, like, laughing. and there was a time where fucking Sean Bradley was at the top of the key or someone, and I stole the ball like at the fucking free throw line of their court. So I steal the ball. I'm running back towards my thing. At half court, I look behind me and I don't see a person running after me. It's like I feel like they're just letting me have this. So I start giggling, and I'm I'm giggling like a fucking schoolgirl. Like because in my mind I'm like, I'm in a fucking NBA game. I stole a ball from an NBA player, and I'm about to fucking make a layup. And right when I'm about to go up, it was like a cannon shot me. I heard the biggest bang ever. I hit the deck and slid off the court, like basically to where the kitchen was. And I turn around, and Patrick Ewing standing over me with this big smile, and he goes to lift me up, and he goes, "As soon as I heard you giggle, I couldn't let that happen." And I was like, "Yes, sir."
Oh, man. And that's a big dude, man. Patrick Ewing is huge.
It hurt. It hurt bad, and he felt bad. And it's like, there's time frames in my life where I'm like, I wish it was a time where it's like people carried cameras, or you wish you had a cell phone back then. But it's like there's like that picture alone, just with me and Patrick, would have been the greatest picture of all time. Like it was one of those greatest moments of my life, and it was amazing. And it was just happened that my buddy who I got the job ended up being the security guard, because it would have never happened if it wasn't for him getting picked to be that guy, you know?
That's wild, dude. So, I mean, okay. So, I mean, I'm not super good. I mean, I have another podcast where I talk about movies. We talk about how long things took to film, but most of them are old horror movies. So with newer, big budget Hollywood stuff, I honestly don't know how long it takes to film a movie. So how long, and Michael Jordan being the main focus of that movie, how long was this going on? How long was the court set up, and how often, or how long were you going around and playing fucking 3-on-3 with all the 90s the basically the dream team that played?
Yeah, exactly. It was the greatest. The court was there for the whole summer. Like, it was there for a good solid, I mean, it was probably up for 7 months. It was utilized for probably, because they you know, when they built it, and they had to like make sure everything worked. So it was up like pretty early before like no one knew what it was. Like, I didn't even know what it was because they kind of kept it really top secret. But, you know, being in the mailroom and me being me, I kind of knew everyone on the lot. Like, my dad used to say I was like the mayor of Warner Brothers. Like I knew everybody. So like word would trickle down to me. I'd be like, oh shit, they're filming Space Jam there. Okay. And then, but yeah, I think Jordan was there for the whole summer. Like legitimately, whenever basketball season, the whole season was over, like that's what he used as a workout. He would film and then play basketball all day. So he was there. I mean, I didn't see him, I saw him a lot, but like I didn't, like there'd be, there was like weeks where I didn't see anybody in there. Like, I would go in there at lunch and they either were filming or they were off. And the court, when they wrapped the movie, the court stayed for another 2 or 3 months, just because I think, you know, they were kind of taking everything apart slowly because everything was rented. So like people were still trying to get in, but like they had it, once they left, they had it pretty locked down where no one was getting. I think only the powers that be, like the main. I think like Clooney was allowed to play in there a couple times.
Okay.
And I one time, because at Warner Brothers, Clooney would play all the time. So like he had when he was filming Batman, the Warner Brother court used to be in a weird triangle shape. And when we were playing 3-on-3 and he was going, and a security guard, you know, bodied him up and hurt his ankle pretty bad. And then they had to shut down filming of Batman and Robin for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh man.
And so what he said was, he goes, I want you to rebuild a court. So because he was such a big star at that time, that they built basically a full court, basketball court at the gym, outdoors, and they had to put padding around it because, I mean, every day, you know, they used to have the Warner Brothers tours. I mean, like, you'd go in there any day and like David Arquette was playing, everyone, Urkel, like Urkel probably was playing the most. Like Urkel and George Clooney were like the dudes that were on that court daily. Like
Jaleel White, Urkel?
Yeah. And I'm telling you, that dude was so good like he had such a good shot, but every time he shot the ball, he would legitimately say sweet potato pie. He'd be like, sweet potato pie. Every shot. It was the weirdest thing. Like, it never failed. But yeah, him and Clooney, quiet as kept. Like, Clooney can ball. Like really? He had skill. Yeah. Like he didn't want to play with no other actor. He wanted to play with just like us. Like, we had a group, like my buddies. I have a really good friend that he now kind of does basketball. He produces basketball podcasts. His name's Scott. And he used to play with us all the time because he was a writer. And like my buddy Aaron, and like, yeah, he just like dudes from the mailroom, dudes from security, dudes from fucking like building sets. Like he didn't want to play with he wanted real deal. Like he liked it. Like he wanted to be like that dude, you know?
Yeah. He wanted to play with some real people, not just Hollywood, whoever.
Right. Yeah.
So that makes sense. Actually, what you said about how, when they said they wouldn't let anybody in there, I assume that's got to be for reasons like George Clooney getting hurt. If you're tearing something down, I'm sure insurance costs will go through the roof if someone gets hurt in a place that's technically a construction zone. You know, right. So who else got in on that? I mean, so Jaleel White and George Clooney. Were there other people that could ball that people would be surprised about? Because now I'm dying to know. Like, can Julia Roberts ball? Like, who was that?
I never saw her ball. But Dean Cain, he played on the Superman show, Lois and Clark.
Yeah,
He
I
played
remember
Superman.
Dean Cain. And he had
Yeah.
that true crime show, some true crime show he hosted or something at one point.
Yeah, he was good, but me and him would play like me and him became friends, would play Madden in his trailer during my lunch breaks too. Like my lunch breaks, I just spent like, I never ate lunch.
Right.
I just was either at someone's trailer, like, you know what I mean? It was, but yeah, Dean Cain, he was really good. There was a kid that played Jimmy Olsen on that show too. I forgot, Justin something. He was like one of those actors that, you know, yeah, he was big in that moment and then never seen from again, kind of from what I know. I remember him being good. Yeah, but like, you know, a lot of the dudes from ER, like Deezer D, who just passed away a couple, you know, months ago. All those dudes from ER would play all the time. But yeah, like it was, and a lot of executives, like just like that was their thing. It was, they say like, you know, a lot of shit got done on those courts, and I believe it. Like it was a lot of big time, like the, you know, the top tier of the executives were out there on a regular basis. But me being out there, that, you know, like I would sometimes, like there was a guy named Steve Spira who was one of the heads. I don't even know what his title was, but he was top dude. But if, you know, sometimes you'd be playing with him at the end of the game, he'd walk up to you and be like, "Hey, I'm not going to use my, you know, my Laker tickets tonight. Do you want them?" Or, you know, or hey, the Warner Brothers has the boot, you know, the suite. No, we don't have anyone to give it to. You want to take it? So, you know, you get blessed like that sometimes. So it was good. It was fun times.
Yeah, that's something working in entertainment. Even on lower levels of entertainment, that type of stuff happens all the time. It's pretty sweet, you know. So another thing that someone brought up after the last one, they hit me up right after we recorded it, and said, because you had talked a little bit about working on Warner Brothers lot. Like, oh, he was in the mailroom for over a decade. So
yeah.
I like the way they phrased this, and I feel bad. Whoever you are, I'm sorry. I can't remember who posed this question, but they posed it in a positive way. So a lot of people want to know the TMZ question. Who's actually a jerk? Who's an asshole? Who's a problem? Well, this person wanted to know who seems like a jerk off, but was actually like the nicest person in the world, and they got their reputation misconstrued. Is there anybody?
There is actually. So when I first started, you know, my mom had worked there prior to me. So everyone kind of knew, you know, like everyone would take me under their wing because of my mom. And there was a rumor like, hey, dude, when you go into Clint Eastwood's office, don't fuck around, because I was known for hanging out in people's offices and just bullshitting and talking and becoming friends with everybody. But they're like, don't do that shit at Clint's. Don't look him in the eye. And there was a story, and it ended up being a true story. Clint used to drive this Chevy Typhoon truck, and he had a parking spot right in front of his building. And they used to let couriers on the lot, and someone parked in his spot, and that motherfucker parked right next to it, went around his car, got his fun golf club, and busted out that dude's front window. And when the dude came out to scream at him, he goes, "You parked in my spot." And it was it was one of those stories that went around the lot. So like, I think anyone that ever worked on the lot probably heard that story. Like it was just, it was the lore of Warner Brothers. And he was just, you know, his vibe was that he was super scary. And I never really saw him. Like you'd go in his office and he had his little back office. So I never really saw him. But his office was a little darker. There was really no music. His assistants were just a little more on the mellow side. So maybe it was because I was already shook, but I would walk in and drop off the mail, pick up their mail, ask if they need anything. But I never hung out. But one day I was fucking going in and I wasn't paying attention, but Clint was sitting on the couch, and I walk in and I'm grabbing the mail, and he goes, "Oh, you're just not going to say hi to me?" And I looked and I was like, and I saw him and I was like, "Oh my God." And he goes, "I know you heard the stories. It's not true. When you see me, say hi to me, please." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Don't call me sir, Clint. We're good." And he shook my hand. And then I probably only saw him like 2 or 3 more times on the lot. But every time he would be like, hey, even if he was driving his truck to go park and I was in my golf cart, he'd always wave to me and always, yeah. Like I got every Christmas, I got $100 in a card, you know, a Christmas card from his office. So he was great, but he was one of those dudes that everyone I had heard from was like, yo, watch out for him. He's a dick. And he ended up being like, probably, you know, he wasn't the coolest, but he was definitely like super cool and not scary at all.
Right. I mean, yeah, maybe he wasn't like bubbly and nice, but he was
Right.
a decent dude to everybody.
Yeah.
He's got this reputation.
The worst on the lot though was Steven Seagal for sure. Like,
oh, dude, I've never heard a good story about that guy.
He was the worst. Like he would sit, and this was pre-cell phone, but he would sit in his trailer, but take a chair outside with his long, with the phone, but with the cord, and sit there and take calls. But he would get so mad if anyone looked at him. Like he didn't want, like, but it was like, yo, you're sitting outside in the public, like, and Warner Brothers tours are going by, and he wouldn't let them take pictures of him. Like it was just he was just like, he was just really mean. Like he just, even like, like you'd see him when he's filming a movie, he'd be in the same spot almost every day. So, especially someone like me who drives the same way in my golf cart, you'd see him 5 days a week,
Sure.
even more because you back and forth. So it's like, because when you're doing the mailroom, you do your mail route 3 times in the day. So you drive the same spot. So 6 times really, I would see him a day sometimes, and nothing. He wouldn't wave, and I'd be like, you know what, fuck you, dude. And like, so I stopped. Like, he's the one guy I always be like, he was such a dick. But yeah, I think the most the surprising one, the one that everyone's always surprised at when I tell stories, would be, even though he kind of a dick now, but on the lot, Mel Gibson was probably one of the funnest dudes to deal with on the lot.
So, and to remind everybody, we're talking circa 93, 4, 5, like
I started
90s, right?
I started in 92.
Okay.
And I left in 04.
Okay, so we're talking probably the mid to late 90s. Most of these stories. Okay.
Yeah, like the Steven Seagal was the Under Siege 2 era.
He was at the top at that point.
Yeah, he was at the top. Clint Eastwood was like the Bridges of Madison County and all those kind of, like he after Dirty Harry, but before Gran Torino, all that batch of movies. And then Clooney was ER and just started his, like doing Batman and stuff. And Gibson
he's getting to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, he was up there. But he's, again, I'll be honest, out of everyone on the lot I dealt with, when it came to like celebrities, I will always say Clooney and Dean Cain were like the 2 nicest for sure. And honestly, all the dudes on Friends and ER, like I started when ER came onto the lot, I was their first male guy. So I knew all, like John Wells, everyone who produced and wrote it, I became really cool with. So in turn, I would like go to like a lot of their functions, and I would go on set whenever I wanted to. So like I got to know a lot of the ER dudes, and that was probably the best batch of people. So
just overall, yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, the one you did say, Mel Gibson, you said he was a fun dude.
He would play pranks on. He always did pranks on me. He had a weird office where you would go in the front door, but it was because he was that big at that time. It was like 3 offices put together. So you'd have to walk down this long hallway. And the last hallway was where his mail, the tray to get his outgoing mail was. But it was on top of a cabinet. So one time, like I would see him in his office and he'd always wave. Like we'd always say, what's up? And one time, I guess I walked in, and I was me. So I'd say hi to people, and I'll never forget his main assistant. She was like, hey, when you're going to the back, just be quiet. Mel's on a really important call today. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm like really trying to be as quiet as can. And when I go to grab the mail, he had rubber band the mail to the basket, and there was other things around. Like basically he booby trapped it to where as soon as I picked up the mail, I was going to knock all these things over and make the hugest noise. And he comes out, what the fuck? Who the fuck did? You're getting fired right now. And like I was ghost white. And as soon as he came out, he was wearing a clown nose and just pointing at me. And I was like, and he just like was like, oh, I got you. And I was like, oh. And then like one day in summer, I go into his office and nobody's there. Like I don't hear a thing, I don't see a thing. And I was like, oh, that's fucking weird. So I go to the back room, and as soon as I get in the back room, out of all the doors and anywhere anyone could hide, 7 people come out with super soakers, including Mel, and just fucking drenched me in super soaker, like just demolished me. But like those were the things. It was fun.
So he's got it, like every single prank you just mentioned, he's got a team working with him.
Oh yeah.
He's not playing their fucking games, man.
No, I mean those people. Like if you weren't filming a movie or you weren't making movies, you were sitting on the lot. You were like, like they, back in those days, if you acted in something, you'd get a fucking production deal real quick. Like Matthew McConaughey was in Time to Kill, and he had a production deal, and I was his mail guy, and I mean, they were never there. Like his assistants and his his co-producer was always there, and they were mad cool. But it's like the girl who that movie Contact was being filmed, and
Jodie Foster, that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And Linda Opes was she's I guess a big time producer, but she produced that movie, and she didn't really have an assistant, but she was always in her office while at the beginning of the movie, and I was really, I was good friends with her. I'd always say hi and, ask her if she needed anything. And then one day she was like, here, she handed me the key. She goes, look, I'm leaving to go film this movie. I'm gone for 3 months. This office is yours for 3 months. There's a couch. There's a TV. There's a mini fridge. It's stocked up. Put your lunches in there, but use it whenever you want. So I would because that was in the day, like when you think about it, I was in my, early 20s. I was working from 9 to 6. I'd go home and take an hour and a half nap, and then I'd wake up and I'd go out to the clubs till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then do it all over again. So I was like, during the day, I was dead. I was done. Like I was like, so I'd take a nap for my lunch break in her office, or play basketball. But like her office was it was a godsend to be able to just have a place to go chill.
Yeah, having a chair, but let alone a chair, having a couch, I mean, that's the business, buddy.
And then no one knew, I didn't tell nobody while I was doing it, because I didn't want no one to be like, yo, let me jump in there with you. Let me hang out. I was like,
now you got someone on the couch taking up space. You can't put your feet up, and then some jerk off's trying to run his mouth. You're like, man, look, man, I was dancing the House of Pain till 2 in the morning. I didn't even fucking crash, bro.
Yeah, I'm B, man. Leave me alone.
Were there any? This is a Warner Brothers. Since we're on about Warner Brothers, was there any mishaps you might have seen either during filming or on the somewhere on the lot? Not necessarily that you had anything to do with, but did you see anything super goofy go wrong while on the lot, just traipsing around on the go-kart or something?
I mean, it is, people dropping things. I did see one time, and I'll just say it was one of those moments. Terry Hatcher was coming out of her dressing trailer. She was throwing her keys across to somebody, and she threw her keys, or her keys got thrown to her something, but all of a sudden she dropped something and she went to bend over and her robe kind of opened up. And she caught it real quick, but it could have been bad if there was more people around, if you know what I mean. There was that, and there was, I don't want to name names, but there was a very famous actor who I was, delivering mail to, and I'm going into the building, and his secretary comes running out, basically crying, and this person's chasing her, calling her every name in the book, every name in the world you can think of. And I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck just happened? Well, I found out through other people what happened was that this actor was married, but was in a movie with another actress that he had as a side piece, and told his assistant, send the side piece flowers with this note, but didn't change the address to the house. So the wife ended up getting this exact, and it was basically I had such a great time with you last night, said the person's name, and the actress was a really famous one too. So it was a big deal. It definitely started. I saw that, and then you heard stories on the lot there was the gym, and for the most part it was everyone that worked out the gym. A lot of there'd be actors and actresses that were working on things or whatever, but for the most parts it was secretaries and fucking dudes like me working the mailroom, just cardio or playing basketball or whatever. And when they were filming Fair Game, Cindy Crawford was filming on the lot, so it was a big deal. Everyone was trying to, and there was a thing where the women, a lot of the women at Warner Brothers would talk to the people that worked at the gym and were like, hey, can you tell her to maybe not just stand around butt naked in the in the dressing room, like because she'd be, like it in the lot, like at least for the men's side, it was only like really old dudes, like the 70-year-old dudes that would just come out of the shower with no towel and just walk around and like do their hair, and you'd be like, "Yo, man, put a fucking towel. What are you doing? Put a towel on." And I guess in the ladies' locker room, kind of Cindy was the only one doing that. Like everyone else was like, would cover up, but all these other women are like, "Yo, like you're a perfect 10. Like maybe that's not cool to do at the gym with all of us sitting here." But as soon as that story got out, every guy in the lot was like, "Oh, is there any way we could figure out how to see that?"
I mean, I'm not mad. Back then, she was a stack of dimes, man.
Yeah,
So I see you're wearing. This is perfect. You're wearing that Hyro hat. Chad Giroux wanted to. I know we talked a little bit about you going on tour with Hyro, but we didn't really get into it. He just wanted to know maybe some experiences you might have had with them on the road, how you got hooked up with them. And I think he was talking, he said, I don't know if you want to do anything with this information. He said that Opio is one of his very favorites. I think that's how you pronounce that. Yeah.
Yeah, Opio. Opio and A+ were the two I bonded with the most, for sure. Like they're two I still talk to today, even. Like, that was the nonfiction tour I went on. So it was Hieroglyphics was the headliners, and then it was OC, us, like nonfiction, and then it was a group called the Boom Bap Project out of Seattle. Yeah, and so we toured. They were on a bus. We were in our van. It was like me, Clips, Gore-Tex, and Sabak, and Bill. So it was basically just the five of us in a van. But yeah, we went to we started in Seattle. I mean, we went everywhere. We went to I mean, that itinerary was big. We were like 30 states. I mean, we were everywhere.
How many? And you did this in what, a year? Or
no, just a summer, like a 3 months, like 2 or 3 months. Like it was like
you did 30 states in 3 months.
Yeah, it was like legitimately. It was every other. We only had a couple days off. Like there was one day off where we had to drive wherever it was to Utah. Like I remember wherever we played, and then our next show was in Utah, but we had like a 2-day off. We did it. It ended up working out perfect. We had a day off in Minnesota when we played First Avenue. So my dad came and I posted a picture a while ago. My dad's saying of him and all of nonfiction and me at the Mall of America because we had a day off in Minnesota, so we got to just chill and hang out. We went to a pizza place that's very famous in Minnesota that like Atmosphere used to go to all the time, like Pizza Luce or whatever. I forgot what it's called, but we had dinner there. So it was dope. But yeah, it was like people would I just got engaged or just met my wife, and in her mind, you're like, you're touring. And I was like, yeah, but you don't understand. It's like, you get in the van in the morning. For me, I had to I counted the merch every morning, did my thing, put it in the back. We went to Cracker Barrel. We ate a Cracker Barrel. And then we drove fucking 7 hours. We got to the hotel, dropped everyone off. Me and Eclipse would then go to the venue. He would do sound check while I would set up the merch table. And he would usually just chill with me, but then he'd have to leave before the show came to go pick up the band. So I'd just sit there, and then the show would go on. And then after the show, I had to do the counts, divvy up the money, how they need to go, and do it all over again. Refold it up, So it definitely is like, it was dope. Like, and just to be able to see driving through when you drive through everywhere. But really, you're only seeing whatever the Motel 6 is or Holiday Inn and whatever venue or whatever right around the venue, and the fucking Cracker Barrel or the fucking Steak and Shake or that's all you're really seeing. So.
That's what McDonald's looks like on a freeway in Nebraska, and that's what Burger King looks like in New Jersey. Yeah,
but
that's brutal.
But the Hyro guys were.
I was going to say,
how
many shows do you think?
God, there was. I have the itinerary. I have to find the itinerary somewhere and send it to you. But I feel like there was, I feel like we did at least 30 shows. I mean, like we were it was I know there was the show in Utah, 3 in Colorado, that we did New York, Philly, Boston. We did all that, but we did 2 in Arizona. We did a few in Texas. We did Florida. We did fucking we did Delaware. We did kind of everywhere. Like we went we were everywhere. Like it was a lot of driving. I know that. Like
that's heavy. That's really
yeah.
heavy. So I'm sorry I interrupt you. You had something about.
But yeah, the high road guys were dope. Like they would, their van would park out. Like, Dell would only come to like certain shows, like shows that he got to pick and choose. That was a good thing for him. But that
he was doing a lot of solo shit at that point, right?
Yeah, but so he was kind of doing his thing. But then, like the bigger market shows he was always at, and like I remember him being at the North Carolina show. There were certain, I think, places where he knew enough people where he wanted to go to see his people, but he was at like 80% of the shows. But
that's quite a bit.
But it was everyone else, like Casual, Pep Love, Souls, like it was everybody, and they were the such a great group. But yeah, like just Opio and A Plus was who I kind of, for some odd reason, me and the whole Souls of Mischief crew was like growing up that they were one of my favorite groups. So the four of them I really like connected with, like, Festo and Tajay too. Like I did, but like they were, like they knew people and they were, everyone's kind of doing their own thing too. So it just seemed like when I was able to like break free from the merch table, it just seemed Opio and A Plus were the people that I tended to see the most.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And to this day, like, even when I was working at, when one day I was working at Shamrock and it was around my birthday and they were filming a video. This was like, I don't know, had to be now 8 years ago or whatever, but they were doing some video with Snoop Dogg in downtown. They happened to be in LA, and yeah, fucking Ope called me out of the blue. Like I hadn't heard from him in a couple months, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh shit, nothing. It's the day. My birthday is tomorrow. I'm chilling." And he goes, "Dude," "fucking, we're doing this video. Come through." And yeah, so I went and, they filmed this video, so I got to see them all, and Snoop Dogg fucking sang me happy birthday right when it turned midnight, which was fucking a random thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I got to, me and him took a flick, and it was good to see them. And like A Plus, we we'll like DM each other here and there about things, and same with Ope. Like it's all love with all those dudes. They were like, I talk to all those people still. I'd like even talk to some of the dudes in the Boom Bap Project still. It was such a cool time in my life because it was like doing what my dad did, doing this for the first time on my own, and being just out. It was like so cool to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So since you brought up Souls, they're one of your favorites. I'm with you. I caught them later in my life than I should have. I was probably 20 something years old when I first found out about Souls. Where the fuck has this been forever? Yeah. So where does 93 Till Infinity rank in all time records? It's got to be top 10 for you, right?
Like just that song or the whole entire that whole album?
Yeah, the record.
That whole album is in my top 10 favorite. I would say top 20 favorite albums of all time. Top 5 hip hop records of all time. Like
heavy.
There's a lot, like there's a ton of hip hop records I love, but that is one record where I just don't find there to be a filler. There's not that one song that when it comes on, I'll be like, I'll just skip that one real quick because I'm like front to back. That's like if we were to go somewhere in a car and you couldn't have a phone, didn't have a fucking radio, but you had a 5-disc changer and you need to use the most out of it, that's one that would make it. Like, yeah, because you're not going to skip too many songs.
Yeah, it's a perfect record front to back. I couldn't agree more. We talked about that on other stuff, like even some of the illest rappers ever. Big Pun, for instance. Like I end up skipping a handful of songs because I'm not that it's bad. It's just I'm tired of it, and there's too many skits and shit like that.
Yeah, the skits wear me down too on a lot of those kind of classic rap albums. You're like, yeah, but it's like to me, if you can't take it in that 5-disc change, like the 5-disc changer thing is a big deal for me because that's how I grew up. Is you'd have to pick the 5 songs that was in the trunk, and you had to
the trunk, right?
You put it in, and that's where if you were driving, kind of, you were stuck with that. Like you weren't bringing your CD cases everywhere because you didn't want to get robbed. So you were like, these are the 5 I'm rolling with today. So it's like you had to make sure there wasn't that album that had fucking 3 good songs and 8 shitty songs and 12 skits. So
right, yeah. If you're doing the LA to San Francisco drive, which anybody from California and not from California is the 3rd largest state in the union, and it's longer than it is wide. The drive from LA to San Francisco, I've done a bunch of times, and it's easily 8 hours, if not more.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's and it can be rough too with traffic.
Oh yeah,
that's the rough one. Yeah.
the Golden Gate Bridge and downtown LA are two of the worst in the country. I mean,
yeah.
I think maybe New York and New Jersey might be able to rival it, but that's about it.
Yeah, I've driven to San Francisco, I think 3 times. I did for the Tibetan Freedom Festival, and then a Bears game with the 49ers, and then a Raiders game. Like,
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you being from California, you probably understand. Like, I'm just a bigger fan of LA than I am San Francisco, just as a city in general. I just prefer LA culture to the up north. It's totally they're totally different cities, man. It's
almost like 2 different states, really.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So another one that Chad brought up, which I'm actually stoked about because I kind of forgot about these dudes existing. He was wondering if you ever had any dealings with the Black Knights, the dudes from they're kind of Wu-Tang affiliated. I think they're from Compton.
Oh, really? No, never. Yeah. No, never.
Well, the Wu is affiliated with fucking
There's so many, right?
Yeah, 50% of hip hop is Wu affiliates. So
right.
Another one, I'm curious. I'm not sure why he brought this up, but he's wondering if you had any experiences in Las Vegas at all. I mean, I think the reason he's asking is the proximity to LA. It's not that far away. It's a big show town, and you being on tour with your folks and such.
I love Vegas. My wife hates Vegas. I love it. I am a fucking people watcher. I am one of those dudes. Like my wife's mom, so my mother-in-law and brother-in-law live in Vegas. So, and Correct lives in Vegas too.
Right.
Which is so, but I haven't been. I mean, I was out there probably 2 years ago to visit my in-laws or my mother-in-law, but I mean, I fucking love it. But I like to like play roulette. I bet on some sports, and I fucking eat buffets. I don't do the club thing. I don't do the fucking none of that shit. Like I feel like I aged out of that. I'm more of a like go to the pool and fucking gamble a little bit and watch a bunch of sports and just have like look at these fucking degenerates that are roaming around here.
I mean, it's a city of 24-hour degeneracy that was built for that purpose. So yeah.
Right. But one of the best times, like 2 good times in Vegas was La Coca Nostra's first ever actual real show was in Vegas, and it was I know it was in summer because I remember my wife is like a birthday gift, like flew me out there. She was like, "Look, for your birthday, go out there for the show, hang out for the weekend," and got me a hotel. Like basically set it all up for myself to fucking go do that. So that was awesome to see everybody and be with everybody, and I got to have a couple days. And one of my friends from here, my buddy Adam, met me out. I flew out there, but he drove out there, met me, and my buddy Hoban was out there. Like Booyah Tribe everybody was out there. It was fucking killer. So it was dope for sure.
That's awesome. So I mean, yeah, Vegas is the spot. I mean, that's cool that you enjoy that place because I mean, you don't drink, you don't do. Let me take that back. Let me start over. You've never had a drink and never done drugs. Right. You don't seem like the gambling type, but you still dig on Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, for me, like, yeah, when I gamble, it's like I'll go whatever money I put in my wallet. Like, I'm going to spend $400. Like, that's legit what I'm spending. I never pull out more. And all I do really, like, I'll play roulette. Like, it's such a meaningless game, but it like wastes my time. Like, I think it's just I'm just sitting there, and if it hits a number, when I went to Vegas for that time with La Coca, I won so big on roulette that I came home as a gift for my wife and bought her like a Louis Vuitton wallet to match her bag. Like I ended up winning a couple grand. Like it was I definitely love Vegas. But yeah, it's funny when the waitresses come by and they're at the table and you're like, "Can I just get a Coke?" And they give you the look like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry."
Yeah. So let me ask, since you play roulette, that's heavy. This is just on a personal level. I'm not a big gambler either. I did sound for a show in Las Vegas, kind of right before COVID hit. And while I was there, at night we didn't have to break anything down because it was several days in a row. So at night it's like I went to the pinball spot down the way on Tropicana. Nice. That fucking spot rules. But also, like, I would just go down. I didn't want to go too far a couple nights, so I went downstairs and just kind of gambled at the bar on the little things. And I thought about playing roulette because I've never played it, and I realized I know how to play every single game up to and including baccarat in all those places. I do not understand how to bet on roulette. So how do you bet on roulette?
So for me, what I do is like my favorite number is 32. So okay. I always, and for me, it's what I feel. So I'll pick numbers like, so sometimes like whatever the chip amount is, if they're $1 each, I always put a couple of dollars on 32, things around 32. And then there was like, my wife's birthday, fucking Maddie's birthday, Dylan's birthday. And then I always put some on red and black. And I put some on, like, you can do like the whole, like a section of the board. So you can make a little bit of money back.
Odd, you can do even.
Yeah, but I tend to do it to where if 32 hits, and that's where I do it. If 32 hits, you win fucking big. Like, but you always have to make sure you put at least one chip in between the 0 and the 00, because that means if one of those hits, you get paid out a little bit.
Sure.
But to me, like, I can't play craps. Like, I watch craps and I try to figure that shit out, and that shit is beyond me. I'm like, what? Like, I can play poker pretty good, but I don't like, I'm not like that dude where I would play in Vegas with these real dudes. And to me, the slot machines, you got to be really just old I just don't feel I'm old enough yet to do the slot machines really. Like, they have a roulette slot machine that like I'll fuck with. Like if the roulette table is kind of packed, because I also don't like playing when there's a ton of people there, because I don't like reaching over a lot of people, and I don't want people reaching over me. So,
right.
Like, and so it's like for me, if I'm like, oh, if there's more than 4 people, I'll just find the fucking roulette that's on. But yeah, when me and Chrissy were there last, like we did the roulette fucking the gimmick on the not the table, just the fucking the video roulette, and I still won a couple $100. Like, yeah,
nice.
That's it. Yeah, to me, it's just picking numbers. It's just if you're like, that's my favorite number, that's my wife's number, those are my daughter's birthdays. You just, because the thing is if you don't bet a lot, if you just put $1, you can sit there for a couple. If you bring $400 and it's a $10 minimum bet table, you can really make that last, because if you keep hitting on certain things or around certain things, you can always just kind of break even. So you could spend a good 6 hours there, and it's kind of blameless in my opinion. It's just luck of the draw.
So it is fairly random, but you have just numbers that you care for. So where does, if you don't mind saying, where does 32 come from? Is it just happens to be?
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, Dr. J in the ABA, before he went on the Sixers, he wore number 32, and that was my favorite basketball player.
Okay.
And then Magic Johnson wore 32, so it just kind of solidified it for me. So, and I grew up in the era where, when everyone started getting a pager, you needed to have a code, like to be like that's me. So 32 was just my code. So it was always my number forever.
Yeah.
So.
Heavy. Okay. That's cool, man. I dig it. This is another interesting one. This is way out in left field. I never think to talk about local California stuff with people from California, because I'm not sure why. I guess I should probably do that more often. But Chad, being from Canada, wanted to know if you have any dealings with or opinions or views on Skid Row down in LA. LA Skid Row has the largest stable population of homeless people in any one district of a city. I think it's up to like 5,000 people that live down there now, which, I mean, it's a damn shame, but you being a native Angelino and having been there for so long, he was just kind of curious what your dealings with it might have been, opinions on it.
Honestly, my dealings were fucking stay the fuck away. Like, that was legit. Like, being from the Valley, going to downtown LA anyway was a fucking trek. Like, it wasn't like a hop, skip, and a jump. So you definitely weren't just fucking, and because of, I never did drugs. I never needed to find drugs. I never needed to find people who did drugs. So to me, Skid Row was just one of those spots that it was like, you heard about. And, like sometimes you take a wrong turn leaving fucking the Forum or wherever, downtown LA somewhere. You'd be like, oh shit, there it is. And I mean, I remember when Q Unique came out here and performed somewhere in downtown LA. And when I went to the show, and then when I left, I fucking took a weird wrong turn, and this was like 2:00 in the morning, and I ended up right in the midst of Skid Row. And I was like, oh shit, there's fucking Skid Row. But like my buddy, but I have people that like go there a lot. Like my buddy, I don't know if you know, do you know Skinhead Rob?
Yeah, I've been at shows with him, and I've got
Okay.
some of my people are very close to him, but I
So,
don't know him well
yeah.
personally.
Okay, so he's a good friend of mine, but he for years would, he used to get fucking band shirts and free shit, when he was with Famous and all these things. So he was notorious. Like he would, when he'd go to Skid Row and drop off fucking trash bags full of clothes for people. Like, so like to me, Skid Row isn't as scary because the people that I feel like, Estevan goes to Skid Row a lot. Estevan Oriol and
Yeah,
famous.
He's a famous L.A. Cholo culture, tattoo culture photographer. For those,
but I've known him forever because he used to be House of Pain's tour manager, and he knows Mark real well. So he hangs out at the shop, and so he's good people. But it's like the people that I deal with that deal with Skid Row do it more on a like, hey, we're dropping clothes off. It's not like I don't see the junkie side part of it or the. But on the other hand is, I have a friend who's an LAPD guy, Naco, and that's kind of one of his jurisdictions. And he has horror stories from down there. So I think it just depends on what you're there for. You know what I mean? Like, people that if you're just dropping off clothes, you see sometimes the good part. But if you're there to save some people or to check out on some things, maybe you're seeing the darker side of, it's like any group of people. Like you put 100 homeless people together, there's an angel on one end and there's a devil on the other. There's people that you would be like, dude, that guy should not be in the position he is. I'll fucking break bread. And then you'll see the guy that you're like, oh, he's fucking getting exactly what he deserves.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, and then to comment on it as a native Californian as well, there's a lot of those people are just mentally ill and not getting the help that they need. Probably shouldn't be down there. And some of those people are straight up just, because they're not getting the help they need, they're just self-medicating, and it's just a cycle of staying down there. Some of those people down there are just women that are victims of domestic violence that had nowhere to go. The women's shelter was full, managed to get their hands on a tent and could go underneath a bridge in Skid Row. It was the best thing they could do, and people have their kids living down there. It's a rough scene.
You hear horror stories, like people like out of towners that come in and like get picked up by the cops, or and the cops just drop them off there because it's better than taking them to jail, and then they stay there. You hear about like these people that just like when Reagan came in LA and got rid of all like the mental hospitals, the story, growing up, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I feel like it is. Like they basically took all those people and fucking just dropped them off on that block, and that's how Skid Row became Skid Row. Reagan came in, was like, we're getting rid of all the mental people. Let's fucking put them in one fucking spot. And that was back in those days. Downtown LA was a shithole. Like no one hung out there, no one moved there, no one lived there. So it was kind of a weird spot in LA where you could be like, hey, there's enough things to walk to that you can get things if you need to, and maybe figure out your life. But if not, you're fine being here, and no one's going to come bother you, and you'll bother each other. And then it kind of built up around Skid Row, because like everywhere kind of around Skid Row, within a mile of each side, is becoming something, so it's a weird thing. And now it's got so big that I don't even know how you would get rid of it. Like I just don't see where you would even, because there's so many people down there. Like there really is.
I mean, and then I think if I remember right, like Little Tokyo or Little Japan is like right down the way. And
it's not far.
Yeah, and there's some really nice, cool shit. There's like a bunch of hipster shit going on. I've gone down to Little Tokyo many times just to buy specific cooking implements. You know what I mean? Like there's some wild shit that's not easy to find everywhere else. But then around the corner, there's rows of tents. In the spot of the road where motherfuckers would park cars normally, it's just tents for days.
But it's getting like that in Hollywood, even on my way to work. Like it's crazy seeing Sunset Boulevard in certain sections with like the tents and like that. But yeah, like that Little Tokyo, because it's so clean right there, and it's so beautiful. And I got to get out there too, because I don't know if I know you said you texted Carl, but like me and Carl do this, like we're like the snacks man. Like he's, you know what I mean? Like we send each other snacks back and forth, like because he can't. There's so much shit that I've never seen that he can get out there but the same goes for me. So it's like we send each other shit, and so yeah, like those kind of things. I'm like we're hunting now for like the snacks that no one can get.
Oh shit, I might have to get in on this because I know there's some spots around here I can get some wild stuff.
Yeah.
So I had one. This popped into my head. So I was driving around doing whatever the other day, and I put on House of Pain. Basically, just has the 2 records, if I'm not mistaken, right?
3. They have 3.
Shit.
3
What's the other? There's
they have
Fine Malt Lyrics. There's Same as It Ever Was. What's the third one?
The Truth Crushed to the Earth Shall Be Set Free. It's the one with it's their logo and it's like on fire. It's blue.
That's right.
But they legitimately they put out the record. They did a record release party at the Viper Room, and then the band broke up like a week later. So they never toured. They only put out one video. It was the Fed Up remix with Guru.
That's right.
So that's the only single that dropped, and it was one of those. Everlast had brought in the Scheme team, like Divine Styler and Cocky O'Dyer, and like Danny was only on 2 tracks. So it was like, I feel like it was beginning more of like a solo. A lot of people think of it, you know what I mean? Like, even though it is a House Pain record, it was one of those ones that kind of felt, people forgot about it because like they broke up right when it, like, there was no touring cycle for it. There was no, there wasn't
no promotion, no distribution.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right.
And that was, and like you said, that was kind of not, and I mean this in no way disrespectfully. I'm a huge fan of all of those brothers, but it was kind of like the Everlast show, right? Like it wasn't.
Yeah,
Danny Boy was like barely on it, right?
Yeah, Danny was only in 2 songs, so it was Everlast and I mean, you could have put that record down and called it Everlast and the Scheme Team,
right?
And it would have been, but it was one of those things like, when you're saying House of Pain, you expect a certain thing, and not hearing Danny on anything except for like two quick tracks was it was more like people were like, oh, but I think the songs are great. Like if you go back and listen to that, you'll be like, oh shit, there's some fucking bangers in here.
Well, that's kind of what happened to me the other day. It's not like I completely forgot about it. It just kind of slipped my mind, and I went, wait a minute, that's right. Same as It Ever Was a dope record. I went back and listened to it a few times in a row and went, I got to be honest, I think I like this record better than Fine Malt Lyrics overall. I was curious what your opinion, and I did straight up and down forget about that third record. I completely forgot it existed. So taking that out of the equation, because I don't have a frame of reference on it, where do you stand on Same as It Ever Was and Fine Malt Lyrics? You would prefer one over the other?
So, like for me, Same as It Ever Was to me has like, if I was to make a mix CD of the greatest House of Pain tracks, I feel like more of the tracks would be from Same as It Ever Was.
Agreed.
But the Fine Malt Lyrics, their first record, was more, for me, it was like, it's the nostalgia factor of where I was, who I was, what I was doing the first time I heard it. Nothing beats that first listen when you were like, holy shit. Like, and I think the reason why, and I get it, because Jump Around was so big, and Jump Around, like, it's not even a hip hop song anymore. It's a fucking cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, it's almost a stadium anthem at this point.
Right. So I feel like for anyone that's like it, and if you were to play that record, Jump Around's like the second or third or maybe 4th track. Well, kind of once you get to it, probably people are like, dude, I've heard that song many times, and probably don't even give it another, like don't really go farther. I believe you take Jump Around out of Fine Malt Lyrics and you just fucking handed it to somebody and was like, play this. It would be without the whole like, I've heard that song too many times. That would be like such a record that would blow their mind, because like Shamrocks and Shenanigans is in my top 50 of all time favorite songs too. So it's like
100% with you on that.
And they had the song with Sun Doobie and Be Real. Like, so the first record I'll always say is better, but like the Same as That Ever Was. Some of those songs, like there's no denying that those songs are better than a lot of those songs are some of the best things they ever did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both are phenomenal records. I forgot. It kind of blew me away. I forgot how, and I didn't forget about the record. I just forgot how good it was. When Running Up On You came on, I fucking turned the volume up to the point where the speakers weren't having it. I had to turn it back down a little bit. Like,
and you gotta remember too, because if you listen to the first record and then you go to the second record, Everlast's voice changes a little bit, goes a little bit grimier, a little bit deeper. So when you hear that second record now, it's almost more in line of what you've heard Everlast do all over, like his singing and what he's done on La Coca, with everything he's done. So the first record and that record, and then his first solo record when he was with, the Rhyme Syndicate, those are like two kind of different, distinct, different voices. And then the second House Pain record was that more raspier, like he found that part of his voice, and that's the one he went with. So I feel like there's also that, like, I think when you hear it now, after all these years, if you put on both records, a lot of people will think it'll be more comforting for the second record because it sounds more like what they know Everlast to be like. It reminds them of his, his singing voice and what he's done lately on any rap albums. Mm-hmm. Whereas the first House of Pain, it's, I think it's more nostalgic. But to me, if I'm taking one of those on a road trip, I'm taking the first one. I really am.
Okay. All right. And I get that. That shit'll get you amped too. I mean, like you said about his vocals, that is the only record where he really sounds like that. Maybe he did a couple features on other records right around the time of Fine Malt Lyrics, but yeah, he's also like a 20-year-old kid when that record came out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he puts out this other record, and everything after that, he's got this grimy, kind of Vinny Paz-like fucking grimy voice. And I mean, like this, all the stuff with Soul Assassins that he did, all of it sounds like that.
Right. I think it's just adult. Like he became an adult. Like
right.
I think he was 19 when the first House of Pain record was recorded. He was 17 when the Rhyme Syndicate album. Like the other day, someone sent me a video of a birthday party, my 22nd birthday party. My buddy recorded it and sent me the video. And even my wife's like, "Yo, why does your voice sound so different?" And I was like, "It does." And she goes, "You sound so childlike." And I was already 22, and I was like, I didn't know, but it's, I think there come, like, I think your voice changes at the beginning of puberty, and then I think it's somewhere in their 20s it fucking does it again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not crazy to think that it would even change a little later. I mean, you hear a old man talk when he's in his 60s, he doesn't sound the way he did when he was 40,
Yeah, true.
Anyhow, I was gonna talk to you about more hip hop shit, whatever. Is there maybe, I mean, obviously everyone knows that you're well connected to Vinny Paz and Bill and Danny Boy as one of your oldest friends. Are there other hip hop groups that you're well connected to on that same level? Or MCs or producers?
I mean, I think everyone's kind of the people that are in that kind of bubble. You know what I mean? Like I'm, close with, Reef, The Lost Cause, like that's my brother from another, and Planet and Crip, but those are all, those are all from the, Vinny's kind of family tree. So it's like they're all from those kind of trees. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, a surprising one would be, I guess, Mickey Avalon. I don't know if you know who he is.
I do. I'm not a huge fan, but I've heard he's a nice dude.
He's great. He's Mark's godson. So like he's been coming around forever. Like Mark and Mickey's dad like used to like roll together way back in the day, like when they were doing dirt kind of thing, like
right back in Boston.
Yeah, and out here when Mark first came out here to Long Beach and shit.
Okay.
So yeah, like people like get surprised when like that I know him, and I'm fairly close with him. But yeah, like I think everyone's kind of like through the umbrella of, Bill, Danny, and Vinny. I think like those three, like the net is really wide, especially when it comes to like Danny, because House of Pain was such a big group that kind of everyone was trying to be like affiliated. Or no. So it's like everyone like that I'm close with comes from those three branches from that tree. Like. Yeah, for the most part, I think all of them are from kind of that style. Like even Ezak, like that whole like Ezak and Toby from H2O and Ezak from Scarhead. That's all. I met them through Danny first. So it's like they're all kind of. It's sometimes that you forget like how small this world fucking really is,
100%. Yeah. So the last thing I was going to ask you, at one point I talked to you about, we talked about that band Gypsy, and we talked about older bands of that era, the Creedence Clearwater, Allman Brothers era, that people might not know, but they should. And Gypsy you brought up, I think you brought up another couple as well. How about hip-hop, underground or otherwise? Maybe a one-hit wonder that was actually ill and people don't give enough credit to. Is there any of those that you can shed light on from any era at all?
There was this. They only had one album that I really know, and it's probably one of the most slept on records. But the group is called Crew, but CRU. They're from They were from the East Coast, and they and the album's called, like, I think, the Dirty 30. Like, I think Razkaz was on a song, but that album is like, it's one of those records that to me is probably one of the most slept on records of all time, because I felt like they had a song with the Locks called Live at the Tunnel that's in my top 10 of all time greatest hip hop songs of all time. Like, is just one of those songs. Even when Danny Boy was living with me, that's an album that we played all the time, and that song, like, was just, whenever that song would come on, like, we just knew, like, that shit was hype. So them, and like the for West Coast, I always say the first Second to None record. They were kind of affiliated with DJ Quick's Crew.
Yeah,
I fucking loved that record growing up. Like, I listened to it constantly, and the fact that they never got big, like. And then there's bands like the Alcoholics. Like, I feel like they should have been bigger than they were, but they were still, to me they're huge.
To me,
but
too,
I don't know if they're just huge there. If they're just huge in California, like same as Psycho Realm. Like, I feel like Psycho Realm could sell out stadiums in California and Mexico and fucking Vegas, but not sure if they could sell out in fucking the fucking middle of America or fucking But they're one of those bands that I think should be one of the, and I feel like they are. But to me, like, if you ask me if Psycho Realm's a huge band, I'd be like, fuck yeah, they're fucking huge. But I don't really know how huge. But so I don't know if their first record is considered slept on, because I feel like everyone in my circle knows that record. So to me, they're not slept on. But there was this kid that I'm got connected to when my buddy Big Left was doing a live. This kid's from Australia. His name's Grug. And he'll hit me up once in a while. He's like, something happened with his car, so he has like a 2-hour walk to work, and he would just hit me up on DM, be like, "Hey, do you have any hip hop suggestions for me that I may have never heard?" And I like blessed him with the Crew and the Second Ton. But when I did the Psycho Realm, these are records, and he's younger than me, but he never heard of those. So to me, I was like, maybe the Psycho Realm and the fucking Second Ton are kind of slept on.
The first Psycho Realm record you're talking about?
Yeah, the one that
Blocks.
B-Reel's on a lot. Yeah,
that record is that record's
that's
probably top 20 hip hop records of all time to me. I absolutely love that record. Matter of fact, I don't like big festival shows, but when I was, I think, 18 or 19, I went to I think it was the second Cypress Hill Smokeout, and it was at the LA Coliseum, and the whole day, me and my boys were like, there's a special whatever guest. I don't know if it was a 420 guest, whatever they called it. They were going to bring him out towards the end of the whole deal. And the whole time we're like, it's got to be Psycho Realm. It's got to be Psycho Realm. And we were so hyped on Psycho Realm at the time, I was actually disappointed when I found out it was Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah, exactly. I would be too. Like,
everybody
I never
lost
liked
their
Bone Thugs
shit when they came. I know. I mean, they're fine, but everyone lost their shit when they came out, and I'm like, I'm walking away. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
Right
and like Jack, and he's a friend through everybody, but he's one of the nicest dudes of all time too. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like him and that whole crew, like they're just fucking good peeps. That's the thing. Like for me, it's like if you're a dick or if I don't vibe with you, like I just won't listen to your music anymore. Like it just isn't. No matter how dope everyone else thinks you are, because there's a couple MCs out there that I don't fuck with. Like I just don't, because of when I met them or was around them, I just didn't. It wasn't what it was. Like I was like, nah, we're cool. We like you do you, I'll do me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never fucking bump your shit, and you'll never hear me fucking promote your shit ever. Like it is what it is.
Well, you're right. Well, this is why you're one of my favorite people. I think, you don't deal with dickheads, but you also bring out better in a lot of people. I mean, you're easy to talk to about literally everything, and you're respectful of things like that. You're not trying to tell stories out of school and things like that. You're just talking about some shit and some decent people shedding light on good stuff, and I genuinely appreciate it. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything?
I think it's just I think I just again like want to reiterate how dope you are and how dope this podcast is, and you giving me a chance to talk. It's been awesome, and really how great the umbrella of the Broadsheet Breakdown has been to bring all of these people together. I just think sometimes I think about it, especially like I was actually talking, I had a fucking 2-hour conversation with OG yesterday, just bullshitting about, we like to talk about tattoo shit, we're both in the same industry and just life. But I was telling him about how I talk to Carl like fucking 3 times a week. I fucking talk to you. It's just such a cool thing to be a part of. Me and Correct talk all the time. It's just one of those things. It's like people that might not have come in your life without this thing, but you couldn't imagine them not being a part of your life anymore. I'm a big believer in that kind of shit. I'm a big believer in letting someone in and being like, yo, I roll with you. And if I roll with you, that's it. It's a wrap.
I'll keep you around for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and also I want to give a shout out to our boy, our mutual friend Gonzo, of course.
Oh yeah. What up there, Gonzo? I haven't seen Gonzo in quite some time. And last show that I went to was Gonzo's birthday party, Lower Class Brats, and that was a good show out in Pomona. Yeah, man. I forgot that you were real close to Gonzo too.
He used to come into the shop. He's gotten tattooed by Mark, so he was one of those dudes that would just start coming in, and good people, always good people. But yeah, it's been a couple years. I think last time I saw him, he was promoting a show at the Glass House that I feel it was either a Jedi show or an Ill Bill solo show. But that's the last time I saw him when I went out to see that show, and I ran into him there.
That had to have been quite a while ago at the Glass House.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Was that like years back, like when he still had the London Calling down the road?
Yeah.
Fuck,
it was,
dude, that was over
a long time ago. Yeah. It was 10 years ago, easy. Yeah.
Well, right on, brother. This is always fun, and I'm sure more stuff's going to crop up in about 15 minutes when we get off the phone.
You know how it goes.
Fuck it, man. I'll stay in touch, and we'll fucking do the thing again. It's always a pleasure.
Whenever you're ready, my friend.
Absolutely, my brother. Thank you again. Right. You have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Cheers.
Later.